Hey everyone, this is Joe again with the anime review, and today we're actually going to be doing the December anime review. I did not make a vote like I normally do because December 8th is actually my birthday, and I really wanted to do a review on No Game No Life, my personal favorite anime of all time. Just so you know, right off the gate, this is going to be a quick review, honestly. It gets 11 out of 10, we're done. I'm going to make a cut for that, Ryan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. Me personally, I would give it 11 out of 10 for personal reasons. But here, I'm setting aside my feelings to give a proper review of No Game No Life. Again, we're going to use the same criteria we always do. That's story, animation, character development, and world building. I will not be doing any light novel stuff with that. Now, I am almost fully caught up on the light novel, but I'm not going to make any comparisons to that because that wouldn't be fair to you, for anybody who wants to pick up the light novel, which I highly recommend. So the story, for those of you who do not know, No Game No Life is about two siblings are whisked away into a fantasy world where everything in the world is decided by games. That includes the livelihoods of the people in the kingdoms that they belong to, politics, like there are no war and crime or anything like that because there's these 10 pledges. I'm not going to get into the whole 10 pledges, but the 10 pledges do decide the entire fate of the world. And the whole point is, if you want to get anywhere in the world, you have to play games, and you have to bet of something that's equal value, or have a designated representative represent you if you're doing something on a much grander scale, like betting against an entire kingdom or anything like that. The anime focuses around this duo named Sora and Shiro, also known as Blank. They are geniuses. They both compensate for one another's weaknesses, making them the ultimate duo. The whole point of Blank is they've never lost a single game, ever. Except for when it comes to themselves, that's fine. But anyone else, Blank is a single entity, they represent this themselves. Long story short, they end up winning a bet for a kingdom called Elkia, and then they are the official rulers of Elkia, and they go on this journey to basically conquer the world through games. I'm gonna just say that much just because I don't want to ruin the story if no one's ever seen it yet, but I do want to talk about the interesting concept of the story itself, and that's where I'm very hyped about it. It's different. It's so different. Back when it first came out, there wasn't really any anime that at least I could think of, and I've watched so much, that has a lot to do with like everything in the world is decided by games, from its people to, you know, even everyday bets, and that all bets are absolute. Nothing was that. I thought that was a very unique concept where it wasn't about power. There are other races in the series. There's the humans, or humanity is what they call them, the elves, you got the dwarves, you got, let me see here, one of the characters, yes, you might have heard of her, Jabril, she's a flugel. There's 16 total races, no more, no less. And these other races are much more powerful than humanity is, and the fact is that humanity does such a great job of like surviving and using their wit and their brains. That's what makes it so interesting. It's not about a power struggle, it's about being mentally strong, and that's what I really liked about the story. Now, the issues I do have with the story in general is that sometimes they rush things a little too quickly, and every now and then like they kind of like jump the gun. There's a lot of interesting characters and there's a lot of depth there. They do eventually tie back around different things, but the story in of itself is great, but it requires you to pay attention, because in the story there's a lot of points where it's going to loop back to previous episodes and how things tie in together. So there is like an attention span you have to kind of look at from that perspective. The first 12 episodes of the series only covers chapters 1 through 3 of the light novel, which that's the biggest disappointment I have about the story. It's like there's so much more that is out there, but they only cover so much of it via the 12 episodes, and there's nothing you can really do about that. But in hindsight of that, overall, when it comes to the story of No Game No Life, I would like to give it right around like a 9 out of 10. Again, it's like two humans go to this fantasy disboard as the world, and completely kind of disrupt everything with their genius intellect and their solid teamworking skills. The next part that I want to talk about is the animation. This is by far one of the best things I can talk about with this anime. With No Game No Life, their animation is on point. It's done by Madhouse, which already has a reputation for awesome animation. So right off the bat, right out of the gate, that's already strong. I really haven't seen an anime that has the same color palette, vibrancy. It's a very vibrant anime, like super vibrant, like high pastel colors, like portions of neons in there. The animation of the action scenes, there are action scenes, even though they're playing games, there are action scenes on how they do it. It's great. The animation even switches around based on like different things that they're talking about or different situations, which is fine. It kind of gives the anime a little bit more depth. But the animation in general is super vibrant, and you'll notice there's actually one episode in the series, in the season. I'm gonna say season because I'm hoping for a season 2, guys. I really am. So I'm not gonna say series. I'm gonna keep on strong with this one. The background images pop so well. The foreground images, the characters are drawn very vibrantly. You know, from Jabril and my personal favorite character of all time, Stephanie Dola. But like all those characters are so well drawn. The background lighting, the shading, like it just puts this whole world together, and it looks so vibrant. And again, the action scenes are just as great too. They're animated so well, very fluid. I don't have much to say about animation other than it's great. A solid 10 out of 10, flat out. Next on the list is character development. This is the one where I'm gonna give. I'm honestly gonna give it probably one of the worst like ratings here. There really isn't character development. I'm gonna come out there and flatly say this. Okay, there really isn't. If you want to argue with me, go right ahead and try. You can. It's all right. I totally accept it. However, the only 2 people, in my opinion, that get like a proper character development is Stephanie Dola and another character in the series, which again, I'm not going to say any names, but she will play a pivotal role later. Her and her constituent. Sora and Shiro do not get any character development. They're literally OP at the beginning of the series. It's really focused on the game and the story and the animation and the world building aspect of it. And overall, that's the one thing that it really diminishes on the season / series, just going into the animated version, not the light novels. So unfortunately for character development, there's not much to say. You know, with Stephanie, she's the only exception because she does grow. She participates in the games, and you know, she does end up, you know, gaining more and more experience, and she learns a little bit better. But overall, character development, I have to give it a 3. This is the last of the 4 categories. And by far, this is some of the best world building I've seen in anime. Now, I've seen a lot of anime. There's a lot of world building out there, but they really went the distance here. There is so much to unpack just in the 12 episodes. And you know what? I'll even throw in the movie at this point, because I'm not going to forget about the movie, the OVA here. The world building is astounding. They talk about the races, the order of the races matter, the 10 pledges, you know, Ashante, and like how they have to like do certain things, and like how just the way that the whole world is represented. There's so much to unpack. There's so much in the background that you can see from the world building's perspective, from the state of Elkia to other nations. You learn a little bit about Sora and Shiro from their backstory and how they contribute to the world in itself, and then you learn a little bit about Jabril, and you know, there's so much stuff happening in the series that are there. It's so much content. And the world building, when you learn about like, oh, where Jabril lives and where, you know, Elkia stands, and the feuds between other races in Elkia, and the reason why, you know, God, which I'm gonna mention this character because he doesn't get a lot of screen time anyway, so he does play a major role, but he's minor in the anime just because it focuses solely on Sora and Shiro. It's Tet. His name is Tet, the God of Games. And there's so much that are there, even from the background imagery. There's world building right then and there, and there's even a point where you see the background imagery the entire series, and then finally at one of the episodes someone mentions about the background imagery, and it just brings the whole world together. And for those of you who have not seen No Game No Life, they really thought about the nuance of the pledges and the world building aspect and how they affect the lives of the characters. And I mean that from not only a physical standpoint, but from an emotional and mental standpoint, because there is a thing that happens in there that involves that. And it's just so mind-blowing that there's the level of detail that goes into the world building aspect of No Game No Life, and we only get 12 episodes out of it. And that's what's really sad about that whole thing, is the fact that there's so much more that's out there, and there's so much material, and the world is one big things I do like to talk about in No Game No Life. It's basically the reason why I'm so attracted to it in the beginning. The whole world, the dichotomy of like everyone's lives are dependent upon like gamers, and then there's even a bigger, broader sense of the world with like what they call the race pieces, the jewels that represent the 16 races in the world of Discord. But I'm getting too ahead of myself, because you have to watch it to understand a little bit more, and I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it yet. Overall, I give the world building a legitimate solid 10 out of 10. It really does deserve that praise, because there's so much to unpack from the world building, and like that's why I really want a season 2, because I've read the light novels and there's way more that happen. Final thoughts. Overall, with the character development being the biggest hurt, but the animation and world building and the story being like really good, I would solidly give this anime a 7 out of 10. And that's my real review score right there, because the character development needs to be fixed in the anime, because it focuses so much on the games and Sword and Shiro, and there's a lot more to unpack with the characters that need to be taken into account with their entire lives, and it just doesn't show that much in the series, and that's the biggest downfall it has, is this lack of character development. Everything else is pretty much perfect at that point. I hope you guys enjoyed this anime review. Please look out for the January review. I'm always up for discussion on the Discord. You can find me in there. My handle is miengetsu. So just look for me. I'm more than happy to talk about the reviews and just different things, and also take some, to see what you guys liked about the review or don't like, because I love the conversations. But until then, I will see you guys all next time.